Data Factory, Azure Function, and Azure Logic Apps here at Azure Integration Summit 2022. The purpose of this session is to provide you a very quick overview of these three Azure services which you can use in your data-driven integration. So let's start with myself. I am Alpa Budbati and I'm working as Azure consultant at Cluster Reply. I have also provided my LinkedIn information. So if you like to join me or if you have any question later on, then please feel free to do that. So let's start with today's agenda. Today's agenda is mainly divided into four parts. So initially three parts. I'm going to give you an overview of the three Azure services, which is Azure Data Factory, Azure Function, and Azure Logic Apps. And last part, we're going to see a demo using the Azure Data Factory, Azure Function, and Azure Logic Apps. So let's start with first one, which is the Azure Data Factory overview. So what is Azure Data Factory? Azure Data Factory is a cloud-based data integration service that orchestrates, automates the movement and transformation of your data at a scale. Also, it is a platform as a service and it's a serverless. Because of these two reasons, you don't need to worry about compute infrastructure or software installation or web server configuration. Azure will do it for you. And because of that, it's cost effective. You only pay for what you have used. For example, if your Azure Data Factory is not running, then you won't get any charge for store execution. However, you get a small amount of charge for storage, but which can be negligible. And last but not least, it's a low code, no code solution. You can very quickly build your pipeline by just a drag and drop modules in a very quickly, and you can parameterize it, you can operationalize it, and you can create your end-to-end workflow very quickly and very easily by just a drag and drop. Also, you can easily integrate with other Azure services like Azure Cognitive Service, Azure uh, Azure's Data Lake Gen 2, and there are a lot of storage available. You can connect it with more than 100 data sources. So let's start. You can get more information. Here I have a shared one link. So now let's see a key component of Azure Data Factory. So there are five key components of Azure Data Factory. So first one is linked services. Linked services is like a connection manager. It's hold the connection string of your data source. As I said earlier, it supports more than 100 data sources. So first of all, you will create link service, and link service authorize your data source. So that at that time you will use username, password, or URL and login information. So it authorizes that data source and it holds the connection information for that data source. So later on, other component in Azure Data Factory can use it. So next one is datasets. Datasets is nothing but it's a metadata about of your data. It's whole the structure of your data. So for example, your link services is pointing to a Azure SQL server, then your data sets in form of the uh, table. But if your link services is pointing to a REST API, then your data sets in a form of a JSON file. So that is your data sets. So once you have a link service ready, you have a data set ready, then you can create a pipeline and add activities. Sorry. So activities is nothing but it's do a specific task. In Azure Data Factory, we have a lot of activities available. For example, Azure Function activity, machine learning activity, Databricks activity, control activities like for each loop, switch, until loop, that kind of thing. And also you have a generic activities where you can have if, lookup activity, metadata activity, like that. So they perform a specific task for your pipeline. And pipelines is a logical group of your activity. So once you have a pipeline ready, you can trigger it by various different method. You can trigger it based on a time. You can trigger it based on when file created and deleted from blob storage, or you can customize it by writing a code in a C sharp, Python, PowerShell, Logic apps, that kind of the things. So this is a quick overview of Azure Data Factory. Now let's move into next topic, which is the Azure function. So what is Azure function? Azure function is a solution for easily running small piece of code in a cloud, or we can say function in a cloud. So this is nothing but is a function which we have in our database languages, or we have it in our programming languages. It's a small piece of code which written in independently, and someone need to call your code. So this is the same thing, but this function in a cloud. So here someone need to trigger it or call it. So Azure function execute it. So for that, we can say it's a event driven. Someone has to call it. So for example, HTTP trigger, timer trigger, or when file is created or deleted from your blob storage, Azure function will execute. Also, it is a serverless and a PaaS service. So here also you don't need to worry about compute infrastructure and hardware configuration or software installation. Azure will do it for you. And it's scalable. Scalable. So it's easily scalable based on like demands. If seasonal season is there and there is a more demand, then it's easily scale up, and when it's not needed, then it's scale down to save your cost. And as we said earlier, it's a lightweighted. So these are the characteristic of Azure function, and you can see more information in here if you like to dig out. So now let's see how you can integrate your Azure function with a Azure Data Factory. So for that, we have to create our Azure Data Factory in a Azure portal. Then after, we need to create a Azure function in a Azure function app. So now I have a function and I have a data factory. So in data factory, I have a pipeline, and in my pipeline, I have a Azure function activity. As I said, Azure function activity is available in Azure data factory. So via that activity, you can call Azure function, and Azure function will execute and it return back to a Azure Data Factory pipeline. So this way you can simply integrate your Azure function in Azure Data Factory via activity called Azure function activity. I will show you this later on in a demo. So like now question is when you should use Azure function. Like for example, few things you cannot do in a Azure Data Factory. So for example, Azure Data Factory is not supporting sync as a XLS file in a data flow. So at that time, you can write down your code in Azure function. Azure function can do transformation of your source to sync, and then you can go back, and it can move very easily. It very easily integrate like that way. Or for example, Azure Data Factory is the moment not supporting dynamically calling child pipeline or pipelines. So for that, you can use Azure function to just to execute Azure Data Factory. And that way you can use dynamically call your Azure Data Factory pipelines very easily. So I have used Azure function for two different reasons, which I will show you later on. So now let's move into third topic, which is the Azure Logic Apps. So what is Azure Logic Apps? So Azure Logic Apps is a service, Azure service for creating and running automated workflow that integrate for your apps, data, service and systems. And you will get more information in here. In Azure Logic Apps also you have more than 200 connectors available. For example, Twitter. You can easily connect with Twitter. You can easily connect with Azure other service like Azure Cognitive Service. You can use like Outlook, Gmail, SMTP. So there are a lot of connector is available, and if it's not you want something and it's not available, then you can create your own connector as well, and you can very easily integrate it, and you can do it by that one also drag and drop manner. So this is Azure Logic Apps. So now let's see how Azure Logic Apps we can integrate with Azure Data Factory. So for that, again we have Azure Data Factory, and we have Azure Logic Apps. So in Azure Data Factory, we have a pipelines, and in pipelines we have a activity. But at the moment here we using web activity. So this web activity call our logic apps. So web activity call our logic apps, and logic apps will read information from request, HTTP request, and it send a customized email using the Gmail connector, because I have used a Gmail connector. And but you can use a different connector like Outlook, SMTP, a kind of connector you can use it. So it will send the email and it come back here to a Azure Data Factory. So it's not do only email, but it can attach a file as well. So if you say it from Logic App Azure Data Factory that please go and get a file from blob storage, this is the path. So it will attach file from blob storage as well. So this is a Logic Apps which you can easily integrate in a Azure Data Factory by just a drag and drop manner without writing a much code. So now let's move into demo, like how we can integrate all three of them. So before that, let me give you a problem statement, because we have an existing client, and existing client has a system on a on-premise system, and it has these kind of features. So it on-premise system do a data movements and data transformation from one place, one source to another source, and it also have a facility to do a image resizing, because they have a image functionality. They want to thumbnail or resize the image, so they have that functionality as well during their data movement and data transformation. They also have a manifest file creation with e-tag, record count, and file names as a part of data movement and data transformation. And also they have a customized email functionality. So these are the four basic things which they have in a on-premise system. But they would like to do same thing on a cloud. So they would like to move this system on a cloud. So for that, they need data movements and data transformation. So for that, they can use a Azure Data Factory. For image resizing, they can use a Azure function, which Azure function will resize the image when file comes in a specific container. Then manifest file creation with e-tag, record count, and file name. This cannot be done in Azure Data Factory at the moment. So for that, we need to create a Azure function. And customize email also. So Azure Data Factory, at the moment, we don't have a customized image functionality. However, we have an image functionality which are be like business it's language which you end user may not be understand. So it's like you get a alert notification, but it's not customized one. So if you want customized one, then you can use a Logic Apps, which is very simple as well. So these are the four different tasks. We can replace them using the Azure Data Factory, Azure Function, and Logic Apps, and we can easily integrate them in Azure Data Factory. So let's start in a portal. Uh, so before we start anything, let me show you what Azure services, like how many Azure services I have used and what is the purpose. So first one, I have used Azure Key Vaults to hold the secrets for a data source. For example, blob storage, a data lake gen 2, SQL Server, and a function key, because I have Azure function. So function key will store here. SQL connection related sorry, related information will store here, and data blob storage account connection string will store here. So key vault is very good to hold the secrets, and it's a central place. So anyone can easily access key vaults, secrets from key vaults rather than individual place. For example, you have more than five system and you're using same blob storage connection things, and tomorrow, for example, blob storage connection thing has changed, then you have to change in five different places. But here you can store in a key vault, then you don't need to worry about different systems. You don't need to change different systems. So that is one benefit, and another benefit is a secure. So this is a key vault I have used, and my key vault is holding the secrets. Only one thing I would like to tell you is that when you want to use your Azure Data Factory to access this key vault, then you have to add Azure Data Factory in a here by just clicking access policy, by just searching it in a here. Like for example, let me show you secrets, and you can give them minimum as least permission rather than all permission, and you can select here your Azure Data Factory. For my Azure Data Factory, I already have given, but I can search it here. For example, this one. So you just select it. That's it. You select it and then add. This way, you will get a permission, and you will see that one in your key vaults in here access policy. So that is the thing. So now let's close the key vault because we don't need that. So that is the key vault I have used. So now my storage. For storage, I have used a blob storage. So this is a blob storage, and I have a file in container. So file will comes into here. All CSV files or any kind of file will comes into this folder, and my data factory will move them into different container. Sorry, or it insert them into a database. It's create a table per file, and it insert create a new table. And if this table is already exist, then it will insert into same table. And it also generate a manifest file. So that is a one demo, and it's place manifest file into here, and it's insert these three files as a three table in a database. So that is a demo one. And another demo is so file will comes here. That particular file will move into input folder, and that input folder file have a image file. So it will, when file come into input folder, Azure function will automatically run because we have used a blob trigger, and it's move file into output folder. But it's not just a moving it resizing them, it's making it a small and medium. So every one image it create two image, one for small and one for medium. So that is the two things I have done for here. So that is a blob storage. Let's go to here. Before that, I will show you. This is my sink. So my source is coming into blob storage. My sink or destination is a database, Azure SQL database. So at the moment, you can see that I don't have any tables. Let's refresh it. Yeah, so I don't have any table at the moment. It's empty. But once I run my pipeline, you will see that it create here tables. So that is the one thing. So now this is a function. So this is a function app which I have created, and inside my function app I have a function. So I have a create manifest file function, and I have an image resizing function. These are the basic functions. So you can see trigger type. So it's HTTP or blob or timer, and there are many more events triggers available for Azure function. But I have used two triggers. So this is my function, and you can easily see here. You can test your function here by just clicking here, selecting appropriate method and passing the appropriate body. I'm not sure if I have selected. No, I don't have it. Okay. But you need to pass correct information here and then you run, then it will run and it will tell it's a success or fail. You can copy this URL if you like to copy easily. You can monitor your Azure function execution. So if there is any error, then you can directly check into here. You will get idea that why it's a failed. It's easily tell you because specific container is not exist. uh, and you will see here log as well, like how many fail, how many success, and you can use application inside for more information. And here from here you will get function key, and this function key you need to store into your key vaults. So that's it. So this is a function. Same way you can do it for image resizing as well. You can test them, you can monitor them. Sorry, here. So that is Azure function. Now let's move into logic apps. So I have a logic apps as well, and this logic apps will sending the email as I showed you earlier. It send a email via Gmail connector, but you can use a different connectors like Outlook, SMTP, and SendGrid as well. So this is a basic logic apps, and you can see this is overview of logic apps, and here you can see the run history of logic apps, success, fail, and you will get a reason as well. If it's failed, then why it's failed. So, and this is a logic app design. You can easily open it like this way in here. It's a drag and drop things, and you can see code view of logic apps by the here if you like to view. And you can also export a template as well from here. If you like to create it via Visual Studio, then you can just quickly get code from here and little bit modify it. So you that way you can do it as well. And here you will see the connector. So at the moment I have a Gmail connector, but you can have a more than one connectors, and there are I think more than 200 connectors are available. So this is the logic apps. You can run it directly here or you can trigger as well. So this one is a TTP one. So it's a simple event receive a request, it will execute. So this is my logic apps, and this is logic apps URL. So this is the main important things which you need in your Azure Data Factory. You need to copy this URL in your Azure Data Factory. I will show you later on, and that's it. And you need to pass the required information, payload system information from Azure Data Factory to here. And here I'm just making a customized message for my pipeline, and that's it. And here I'm just saying that it's I would like to send a success or fail email, so with a heading title as well. So I have a condition here. I'm just using based on one parameter green, but you can have a different as well. If it's a green, then it's success, otherwise it's fail. And here you can see that it's a very simple things. I'm just passing that variable which I have here as a body, and I selecting title based on success or fail. That's it. So this is the logic apps. And if I show you here, this is the one earlier it executed. So you can see here as well. This green marks means it's executed successfully, and you can see it's a send here as well. And you will see more information by just clicking each components, like what is in, what is out, and parameters as well, like that. So this is a logic apps, which is a very good and is a very important part of integration service. So that is the one, that is a logic apps. Now let's move into main important thing, which is a data factory. So data factory, for that you need to create Azure Data Factory, and then you need to launch your Studio, Azure Data Factory Studio. So once you click launch, let's close this one. You will see that it will appear like this way. It appears in here in home page, like this way it will come. So here you can see that you get lot of other informations. You can see existence of documents, templates, and you can directly use them as well if you like. You can see here history as well, and You can see you can ingest data, you can orchestrate data, and you can transform data. Even you can configure your SSIS packages as well. So this is a Azure Data Factory, and it has a manage tab which manage all resources related to Azure Data Factory, and monitor tab show you a monitor. So you can monitor your pipelines triggers here, and you can easily debug them that this is the fail, then why it's a fail. So you can see that it's give a error message in here. If you um, redirect, you will see here it's a fail. Like if it's success, then you will see here success. If fail, then you will see it fail here. And you will see more information. Like if you go inside, you will see like how many records available in here. That's a 5. And you here also you can see that how many time your loop will run, which is 5 times because it's a 5. So this way you can monitor as well. You can monitor not only pipeline, but you can monitor triggers, integration, runtime, debug data flow, and you can create alert and matrix here. When something is happen and it's beyond your threshold value, business condition, then you can create a alert as well, which send you an email. But that email won't be a customized one. Okay, so let's come here. So this is my Azure Data Factory. But before that, let me show you our link services. So this is link services. As I shared you, you need to create first a link services. So this is a link services is for a blob storage, because it's pointing to a blob storage and it's connected via Azure Key Vaults. So, and I'm saying that which secret I need to use. That's it. So it's a very secure, because here I'm not saying that sorry, I'm not saying here that which connection thing they are used. I'm just giving the secret name only, so it's a more secure. Similar way I have for Azure Data Lake Gen 2, and I have Azure function as well, which also pointing to a key vault, and I have Azure SQL Server, and this is a key vault link service. So this is my key vault which hold all secrets. So that's it. So these are the link services. So now I can able to connect this data source. I can able to connect data blob storage, data lake gen 2, SQL server, and a Azure function. So now let's move into a pipeline. So this is my pipeline. I have only covered movements. No, I haven't covered data transformation, because data transformation is for individual business requirements and file formats. So that's why I have only covered data movements in this demo. So you can see that lookup. Let's move into here. So this is a first demo where here I'm getting all list of file from blob container. Then that file will move and file will all list of file will pass into here. And then for each loop activity, pass file from source to sink. Sink means destination. So it's passed from a file from that specific container, which is file des in container, and it's move that file into uh, a SQL. You can see the Azure SQL Server, and it's create a table for that, which is same name of your file. So it's create table as well. So you don't need to specify hard coded one, because Azure Data Factory is very good to, you can dynamically build your pipeline. So one pipeline can handle many different scenarios. And once file is moved, and when data is inserted into table per file, means table is created in SQL Server side, it hold the information in here. So you can see that this is the append variable which hold the information like file name, uh, and how many row copied, how many data they have. So for example, they have picked one file, and that file has now as a table in a database. So here you can get how many record has inserted into database or copied into database. So we get idea that how many record have in that count, that file. So those information will maintain in a append variable for each file. And then we calling Azure function. Once successfully file move into a table, database table, we creating a Azure function. We calling the Azure function, and actually, as I said you, it's a activity. So these are the activities. You can see these all are activities: Databricks activity, Azure function activity. You don't need to do anything, just you need to drag and drop. That's it. If just to do that, and then you see it will give you highlight as well. You only need to select these methods. Let me close this one because I already have it. So that way I have drag and drop, and I have set here features. So this is my link service, which hold the function key. You can create here as well if you forget it, and if you want to create new one, you can create from here. And this is the actual function in my function app, which I'm going to call to do a manifest task. And method is a post method, and this is a body function body. So here you can see that I am saying which container. So I'm giving container name, and I'm passing the information which I have in my append variable, which is each file name and count. So those things, based on this Azure function will generate the e-tag as well. And once it's run successfully, once it's generate a file, it's send the email. So this is a web activity. For that, you just need to search here web activity. You drag and drop. That's it. And then here you will set a few properties. So for this is, as I said you earlier, this is a URL of your logic apps, and this is a postman method. And here I'm passing the information like these are the payroll in that HTTP trigger in logic apps. So I'm passing those information like data factory name, pipeline name, times, message, error message, like that. And that's it. If it's fail, this red means fail, green means success. And if fail, then you will see that fail. In that time also you will see the parameters, but here it's a red color is red, and I'm passing different parameters because I'm passing error message as well here. So that is Azure Data Factory pipeline. Now let's run it quickly, but before that, let's see the file is available or not. So table is definitely empty, and file in container, they have a files. Okay, so let's run now Azure Data Factory pipeline. uh, Sorry. So here I have a dynamic parameter. I haven't hard coded it, so you can use as many container, different container, and it can have a very sorry. It can have a different formats, and you can concatenate as well uh, if following the Pacific standard for your container in here, and it will pick file from that container. It's any file, it pass to for each loop, and it move to database, and it generate a manifest file. So this is works for any files in CSV, and it can be used for different business outcomes based on your business outcome. If you have a file in a different container, so you just need to change here parameters when you run. Just need to change up parameters. Instead of file in, you can have like business outcome 1, business outcome 2, business outcome 3. So I think pipeline has run. You can see that this green marks means it's ran successfully, and you can monitor here as well, like how many files it has. You know that it's a 3 files, so it's showing here 3 files. So for each loop will run 3 times, and it will do a copy for 3 times here and here, and it with adding the append variable as well 3 times. This Google icon will tell you what is your source and what is your sorry, what is your sink. And you will see more information here as well, like queuing time, transformation time, and how a record has read or like that. If it's failed, then you will see fail information as well, and this is a value in append variable. So now you can see that final value in append variable is that last value, and here is uh, this is the append variable. So now append variable have this message, and it's calling the manifest file, and manifest file has run, and it's created a file in blob container. I will show you, and then it successfully called this logic apps with this message body, and it send email as well. So first of all, let me show you email. Let's refresh. So you will see this email I recently got. I can customize more, but this is very basic things. So I got email as well in a Gmail, and here you will see that three table will created. So let's yeah, so this table is created based on file. So here if you have 100 files, then it will create 100 tables, and if you have a same file again and again, then it will insert into same table. So you will see data as well. So let's close this one. Okay, keep it for one more time, and see this is a container. So now it has a three file, which is a source file, which is originally one. But if I refresh it, you will see that fourth file is created, which is a manifest file. So this is a manifest file with attaching the timestamp, and here you can see that it has how many files. Then I have three files in here, so three files except a manifest file. It generates this etag, and it's also giving the count as well on that file. Sorry. And it's give a date say and timestamp as well. So if you match this etag, let's open this one file, and this is the etag of that file. And if I go to here again, you will see that that is a matching. This etag is matching with at the moment with this file's property tag. Similarly for other as well. So this way Azure function is generated. This is generated by Azure function. So this is the demo one. Now let's move this one. I'm using same container, so I don't want to change it. But you can have a different spec code as well. And now let me upload a file for second demo. So see, you can see that I have image file. I have only two datas, but you can have a millions of data as well, and you can have a different image. I have used the same image, but different name. So let's upload this one. So now I am uploading a image file plus a CSV file. Um, okay, so if I open this my CSV file, car.csv file, so here I'm saying that how many image I have outside. So I'm saying customer ID, car type, and file name. So this is the customer ID, uh, and this is file name. So let's close this one and let's run pipeline. So this is another pipeline. Before that, let me show you in blob storage. Uh, so this is input file. At the moment, nothing in input file. But when the file comes here, Azure function indirectly run because it has a blob trigger, and it will move a file. It will resize them in two size, and it will move into output folder. But that one I haven't used in directly in my Azure Data Factory pipeline, which is this. I haven't called here Azure function, but it will do it that because I'm moving into container where Azure Data Factory is, Azure function is triggering. So this is lookup one, which looking that a CSV file, car.csv file from Pacific container. You can make a dynamic name as well. And then it's passing all records in a for each loop. So for each loop at the moment it has a two records, all output. So, and it will run for two times. It copy a data from source to sync, and sync is this is a binary things because I'm moving the image from source to sync. So from moving image from file days into a input container. So that is for that. And once it's all file move from file in container to in container. This one is a now I want to move a car.csv file into database. So this is a file, and here this copy activity for moving the image, resizing the image. So it's moving the image, and as long as it's moving the image, Azure function will trigger and it resize them. And after that, I'm just moving my actual file, which is car.csv file, in a Azure SQL Server as a table. And then I'm sending the email. So you can see the source, sync, and yeah. So let's run this one. While it's running, I can show you a function in a Visual Studio. So this is my function apps, and here you can see that I have a function which is a manifest function. This is create manifest function, and you can see that this is the function, and it is a HTTP trigger. This is a trigger, and here you can see that I'm getting request from Azure Data Factory, and then I'm using the a little bit calculation here. So it will this is the actual message, but it's look like this. When you pass it, I'm just using the dictionary here, and I'm splitting them into two separate because I'm passing the file name, counts, and number of records. So these are the things I'm splitting them, and then I'm creating manifest file using this function. So here I'm creating manifest file, and I'm storing them into a particular data container, which I have specified in a connection string in my function connection string configuration. And here that's it. It has a basic validation for that. If it match, then it will generate a manifest file, and it's also generate a e tag as well. And you can see here this way blob dog e tags. So this is one function. Let's show you resizing one. So this is another function which resizing the image, but here this is a blob trigger. You can choose different triggers. There are many different triggers available. So when file is comes into input container, this you can more customize it, but this is very basic one. When file comes into input container, any file, so whatever its name, it will pick it, and it will use the same name, but it's concat with a small or medium, and it's stored into same container, and I have a same connection string for that. But its input and output folder is like that difference. It's very simple. You can see that this is a resizing for small, this block, and this block is for resizing the medium. And there are the function. This is a resizing logic. It's just to do resizing, and it's use this dimension. Very simple. So that is the thing. And you can run this function in locally as well. And you will see here that you will get this information like these two URLs. This any URL you can use it in your Postman, and you can test it locally as well. And this is Azure function. Now let's go back to here our pipeline. I think it has done. It's run successfully. So you will see that again here in lookup, you will see that in CSV file have two records. Um, and so that's why it's expecting two image in outside of folder, and it's moving the binary image, binary movement from blob to blob. But here is file this into a input container. Uh, so for two JPG file, and then its final copy that car.csv file, which is a CSV file which stored into database. So here you can see the blob storage to a SQL server. And finally it's done, it sent the email. But when this file is moving into a different container in a blob storage, Azure function blob with a blob trigger will execute. So let's see here. Here should be a one more table. Let's refresh it. Yeah, this is a new table came, and you will see that it has a two records for a car information. And this is a file name, which is an image file which we have moved from file into a input container. And here you can see that now input container have a two image came, and once the image is coming into here, you will see that output container, it generate a files, it generate a medium and small for the same image. So this is the, you can review as well here. So this is the medium and this is the small. So that is the demo. Now let's and also I get email as well. Let's go to back and refresh again. So this is the demo with this is different pipeline name. So now let's go back to slide. Okay, yeah, and you every time when you run, you can check if there is an issue in sending email. Then you can come into here, and here you will see records. Every time when your logic app is run by anyone, you will see a history here. If it's success, fail, or you will see more information as well. Here you will say if there is any errors, then you can easily see it. See, it's called by demo 2 pipeline, not a demo 1. Those kind of thing you can easily see, and you can trace as well what is input, what is output, like that. And if your Azure function failed, then as I showed you earlier, you need to go to your function app and you need to monitor here, and you will see a error message here. There is a error. So let's move back to a slide, and so with that I would like to conclude this session. So we have seen Azure Data Factory, which is a cloud-based data integration service, which is no code or low code, and it's a platform as a service, and it's a serverless, and it help you to do your data movements and data transformation very easily and very quickly by just a drag and drop without writing a code. You can quickly parameterize, operationalize your pipelines and workflow, and it's help you to do orchestration. So that is the Azure Data Factory. Also, it's easily integrate with other Azure services like Azure Cognitive Service, Azure Machine Learning Service, Azure Databricks Service, and many more. Next one is a Azure function. So as we know that it's a function, it's a small piece of code in a cloud, and it is a very important part, and it's very easily integrate with other services like it. Same way as I said earlier as well, in other Azure services as well as you can use it with data integration solution, Azure data integration solution, Azure application integration solution, or Azure sorry, IoT integration solution. And it's event driven, and it uses serverless compute service. So that is Azure function. Now let's see our logic apps. So it is a event driven as well. It's a no code, low code solution, and it's easily integrates with so many applications, not even Azure one. You can use your own application, which may be in a COBOL or a different language. You don't need to worry about that if you don't know that language. You just create a connector, and you can still call it, use it in your logic apps. And logic apps can be an interface between your latest technologies and your COBOL one between them, and that one also no code low code, and it's a serverless as well. So that is a logic apps. And then we have seen two demos. First demo is to create a manifest file after moving a data into database, and second one is to resizing here we haven't directly used Azure function in Azure Data Factory, but Azure function has a blob trigger. So it's continuously looking into that blob, and it's execute it perform the specific task like resizing a image. So that is, and we have used logic apps to send an email. But you can use a logic apps for very different purpose as well. And there are so many purposes available in a case you want to use logic apps in a different scenarios. So with that, I would like to thank you for attending this session, and I would like to thank the sponsors and organizer and volunteer team and for allowing me to give this session. And I'm very sorry that I make you little bit irritated because I'm getting dry cough a lot. And with that, I'm now open with a question.
Thank you, Alper, for really, being able to present not only a really good use case and pattern, a very practical pattern that can be implemented. But obviously, we can see you struggling as well there, but you've done a really good job. So huge thank you for that, for taking your time out on a Saturday morning to present this use case pattern. So I think there's one or two questions, Alpa, if you don't mind. So
Yeah,
um, we have one question by Coughlin who's asking, thank you a lot for the great session and real world application scenarios. Based on your experience, approximately how much monthly cost will it be to run the functionality that you've demoed using the Azure Data Factory and the other components?
uh, it is a very good question, but it depends on data, like how many data you have and how many load you have. Like if it's simple, logic apps will charge very less because it's just a sending email. Azure function won't charge much as well, and only we need to consider how many data we have. If you have petabytes of data, also you running your pipeline every day or once a month or once a day or once a week or like that. So it depends on that as well. So based on that, you can say how much it will cost. Yeah,
Exactly, Alpa. Yeah.
yeah,
So you're right. It does obviously depend on the load of data, right? So,
yeah,
and I guess, I mean, the question, as you mentioned, it has a lot of holds a lot of validity because we have the tool sets and serverless capabilities here, and I think often when one is designing a solution, often the first question is asked, well, how much is it going to cost, and estimating cost, and I think maybe that's something for the future. I think what we will do is organize a session on advice on how to calculate expenditure on Azure, which is a whole different session in itself, to be honest. But Alpa, I think your answer is really good. And okay, any other questions here today in relation to this session covering Azure Data Factory, Azure Functions, Logic Apps? I think we were all just really we were really intrigued really just to see how you wired everything together, Alpa,
yeah,
how
yeah,
you shared your use case, and you went into detail into exactly how you actually connected all the artifacts together. And that's exactly the vision for Microsoft, is it's using all the serverless components as building blocks to deliver an enterprise-wide solution. And that's exactly what you've done there, Alpa. Okay, great
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Any other
Thank you so
questions for
much.
Alpa? Thank you. Alpa, one final request.
Yeah,
Alpa, are you able to share your blog and connection details in the chat so that the community can keep in touch with you?
yeah, sure. I will do that. Yeah, definitely will do that. So this is my sorry. This is my LinkedIn information if you'd like to connect me, but I will definitely share in a chat as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. Any other questions on Azure Data Factory? I think just lots of great feedback. Get well soon. Great
Thank,
session. Thank you.
thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Alpa. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Great stuff. So that was a really good session by Alpa, I have to say.